the sidewalk ends.
Yes, not quite.
A little more
It's
involved.
It's not Good Night Moon. We'll put it that way. Yes.
I've never read it. What you're talking about?
You never read Good Night Moon?
No.
That's one of the most classic children's books of all time. It's a bedtime book for little kids. It's like a rhyming. It's adorable. Go buy it on Amazon.
Okay.
That won't be weird at all. Like, grown men buying Good Night Moon.
Nah. Anyway, Snakes and Stogies, episode 217. Smitty's lagging out.
Hopefully
his face is digital. Oh no, your connection's great. Yes, it's Monday night. Smitty is correcting his router.
Does it work?
Oh, you're crystal clear audio.
I think I might have to be just an orb.
Oh yeah, you're orbing it tonight?
Maybe.
Okay. Would you like to take us into our introduction, Mr. Orb?
Yes.
Yes.
I like how the little audio signal thing comes on when I talk.
It pulsates.
I'm like the big ghost face dude in Power Rangers.
Yeah, you're throbbing.
Whoa. We're only a minute and a half in. Here we are, episode 217 of Snakes and Stogies. It's brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. If you went to the Southeast Reptile Expo up in Atlanta over the weekend, you probably saw their booth, checked out their stuff. You can also check out their stuff on their website and then put some stuff in your shopping cart, and then you can use the code THN24 and get a little something off your order. And then there's a pickup option, so you can save even more, double down on the savings, and just pick up if you're in the sort of general vicinity of North Georgia and it's not a crazy drive. If it is a crazy drive, feel free. But otherwise, 10% off, THN 24. And then if you hop on over to fulviusapparel.com, you also use the code THN. You get 15% off your order. Shirts, hats, bookmarks. There we go. Look at that. Dave's even wearing his chameleon shirt. Mugs, all that good stuff. fulviusapparel.com. Cold-blooded caffeine. You need some coffee. You need some energy. Who better than the good guys at Cold-blooded caffeine? The Snakes and Stogies blend, the refined and intricate blend of Mexican and Rwandan coffees that compose our beloved blend.
It'll tickle your insides.
That and many more. Coldbloodedcaffeine.com.
You're really having fun with this no video thing, aren't you?
You can't see me. I could be naked for all you know.
Pantsless, like every news anchor in America. It is crazy though. Your audio is crystal clear. I mean, it's usually really good, but like tonight, I feel like it's just exceptionally sharp.
Yeah, I don't know. I restarted my modem, dude, and it's still like I have the video on and it struggles. And I restarted my computer because I haven't restarted it in a while. Maybe that'll help it out. I can't tell what's going on. Like we have months where weeks StreamYard is great and we have zero issues. I have no problems with my internet, and then we go through these periods where it is just every week it is a battle. And I'm tired of fighting it. I can't fight it anymore, Phil. I'm losing it. I'm losing the battle.
Time to buy some Starlink.
I looked into it. Legit.
It doesn't work.
No?
It works well enough to like run like your phone and stuff, but I've tried to stream with Starlink at the house and it doesn't work.
Really?
I heard that like they cap you on like how much data you use, and then you pay a ridiculous fee if you go over that. But
no, ours is like 200 megabits a second, so pretty slow. But we have unlimited.
Well, I know it worked for that chick on the U.S. battleship. You heard about that? There was an officer, a woman officer on like a U.S. battleship or a frigate or something in the South China Sea. Secretly snuck a Starlink onto the battleship so she could watch her telenovelas. and she got caught, and yeah, they kicked her out. So
Hope it was worth it.
yep.
Probably not.
Spanish soaps, it's risky business.
I don't know. I need a Wi-Fi extender or something. I don't know what's going on. The
Where-
company
where's
that
your
we're
router?
using in the snake room, which is like literally the
Oh.
adjacent corner of the house.
Yeah.
But again, it works sometimes. I don't have any problems, so I don't know what the deal is. But our internet provider currently got bought out by another company, which has been happening a lot lately locally. I don't know about down there. So I don't know if it's going to get better or worse. I don't have high hopes, but I don't know. Maybe I just need to drop my resolution settings or something.
Maybe.
We'll try that.
Maybe.
That won't eat up so much bandwidth. I know you guys want to see me.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can orb and still drive, because I don't think the video.
Probably.
I don't want to leave Phil stranded.
Hey, it's good, man.
Let me see.
Wouldn't be the first time.
We're used to staring at him.
I know, right?
Let's see if that'll work. So I can.
Oh,
You still hear me?
yeah. You get an echo from us or no?
No.
All right, rock and roll. Orbing it up.
Let's see.
Yeah, I can already tell that I'm getting some latency on the
Okay.
video.
Well, tonight we're joined by the fabulous Elijah Day, Destination Gecko, on the Instagram, on the line, online. Yeah, we were commiserating earlier, and Smitty was like, "Oh, we should have Eli on." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a great idea." And then both of us, I assumed that the other person was calling him. So Eli and his wonderful significant other, his better half, if you will, are actually herping out in the wilds of Central Florida. So the connection and/or video might be a hair bit spotty, but I love when we do live herping. Even if it's choppy and crappy, I think it's fun, man. So
As of right now, it has not been very fun. We've been going for 3 or 4 hours.
oh really? Just road cruising?
Yeah, and we found one skink and a fat toad.
Hell yeah.
I switched up the spots. I've been going up north, and I've been having pretty good luck, and decided to go down south, and it was not the right choice.
What's your temperatures down there right now? Because it's like 69 up here, 68. It's actually pretty cool.
Down here, it's like 77 right now. Today, it was a high of like 85, 86.
For me, right now, it is a crisp 81 because we just had crazy lightning monsoons that rolled through. And when they rolled through, they sucked out all the air atmospheric. So there is a light breeze, if you will, a cool, crisp 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, I think it got like 92, I think, something like that, 91.
Yeah, no, we've been having like daily rains, and it's been kicking our temperature down like crazy. Not cool enough to where it's not miserable to be outside.
Right.
It's cool enough to where like it seems like the roads aren't holding heat as well,
Okay.
making herping a little bit more difficult, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, it just occurred to me to check the govies in the desert room because it was really hot today, but then we got that crazy rain and thunderstorm. So I'm wondering if my humidity is going to be all out of whack. It's actually been running pretty high humidity. It's been like 47, 48 every other day or so, which is a lot for that room. Meanwhile, it's like 86% humidity outside. So doing something right. Yeah, it's 47% right now in the snake room, 81.9. So not too bad. Still desert.
Right.
Yeah, deserty enough.
Speaking of deserty,
if I cut out, I'll be back within like 10 minutes. I just don't know how the connection's going to do here.
No worries.
I too finished the Andrew Smith Brachypelma documentary over the weekend.
Smitty, why don't you
oh
tell
my
the
God.
people about that?
Oh, what? Hold on just a second.
And yes, Casey Cannon's in the chat, and he says you may even see a meteor while herping. And that wasn't a meteor is downplaying it. That was, I believe it's called a blastoise or a blastoid. It was
a Pokemon.
Blastoise is a Pokemon.
I'm pretty sure it's spelled.
That would be really cool to see, though.
I'm pretty sure it's spelled the same way. Now you're gonna make me Google this because I'm the only guy on camera.
It's a
Yeah, check it.
Blastula.
It's Squirtle to Wartortle and then to Blastoise.
Fucking smart ass.
I have a shiny and a couple costumes if you want to see pictures. Not just like Pokemon, but I also go Pokemon going, so.
Well, I guess from what I'm gathering, a blastoid is a meteor that crashed in the ocean and was recovered. So maybe I've got that wrong.
Well, that's the one they blew up in Armageddon. So Andrew Smith, the documentaries that I've been talking about as of late, if you go to lovetarantulas.com, currently they have a Kickstarter for a few more days for a Tarantulas of Costa Rica doc that they are, I guess, finishing up. And then they have an Asia one planned, but they haven't really released any more details about that. If you go to that, this is the homepage. So as soon as you go there, if you want to help out with the Kickstarter, it's right there at the front. But you can get what he has released so far. I have all of these. I have watched the Pacilitharia one, and I watched the Brachypelma one, and I've started the Pelanobius. But you can get these in DVD form, or you can get them digital download for a whopping €2 a piece. I think I bought all, because they're usually in 2 parts. This one has 3. And they're like an hour and a half each. They're pretty long. They put a ton of work into these, but I bought the whole series, like literally this whole section minus the Desert Tarantulas one, for like $27 American. So definitely worth it. A ton of really awesome footage of these species in their habitat, and a lot of it is stuff that hasn't really been documented before. I had mentioned, I think last week or at some point within the last 2 weeks or so, that he goes into a lot of detail in the beginning about this guy. This is Pocock right here, and this is Carter right here, the guys that he talks about that started this railway that discovered these spiders and then sort of pieced the puzzle together in terms of figuring out where exactly they came from, because they were coming in on railways, and they couldn't figure out exactly where until they sort of backtracked and figured out where the lumber was coming from that was being brought in. And they figured out, we're talking like circa 1870s to late 1890s. Is really cool. And the fact that he was able to go back and get this much information is pretty insane.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That would be the most terrifying thing to find on lumber, just so you know.
You know, someone had to get bit by him the first time to realize it sucks. So
yeah, I couldn't do it. I like pokies, but if I was grabbing a piece of lumber and one crawled across my hand, I would not do well.
It makes you wonder if they became actual like spider guys, or if were they interested in it, or is it just?
No, they were mostly naturalists, sort of. I guess
Okay.
in their free time when they weren't engineering railroads and stuff, they did become naturalists of sorts, and they all kind of got in contact with one another and sent each other holotypes and preserved specimens that I guess they found and threw in some alcohol and then shipped.
Oh, so they weren't scientists at first. They were just working on the railroad. And then
yeah, they were engineers and stuff. Pocock is probably the one out of all of them that was more so like a naturalist, but Carter and a couple of the other guys that he mentions that were sort of in that circle were not naturalists initially, but
that's kind of a crazy switch, because I doubt many people that are just engineering a railroad would really dive deep into that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the way I figure it, in the late 1800s, 1890s, there probably wasn't a whole lot to do. So I'd probably be out and about looking around too.
Yeah.
But the third part of the Pacilitharia one talks about Hanuma villisumica, which is probably the first Pacilitharia species that's going to go extinct. And and it was actually discovered by Smith, who does these documentaries, in 2003. So he talks about that briefly, not briefly, but talks about that species in particular and why they're disappearing and what the issues are there. It's just, again, like the Brachypelma one was the same thing. He went into incredible detail in terms of the people that found these species and got named, and it's basically split into two halves. So there's what's that river called? There's a river that I cannot remember the name of off the top of my head. And so it talks about the genus being split into the northern half and then the southern half. And he goes through all the species there. So your hammeri, eratum, bomi, classy, Amelia, Smithi. Did I say that? Baumgartneri.
And Smith is named after him, right?
No, it was named after somebody else. But he goes into the explanation as to the split in those and how they are actually two different species, even though they look so similar. But it's really cool because they go and they're finding these things and showing you how they're fishing them out of holes and stuff, and it's pretty neat. So
very cool.
And then the Pelanobius one, which is king baboons. Phil, this is the one you'd probably be most interested in because it's your jam. This one I've started. I've not gotten terribly far into it. I think I'm about 45 minutes into the first half, or maybe it's only one. I don't know, but I started it, and I mean, as kind of cheesy as the covers look, don't judge them by that, but really, really good stuff. They go into so much depth that it's really freaking incredible. And the fact that he only wants $2 a piece for the digital downloads, to me, is absolutely insane. Like, that man needs to be asking for a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
The amount of work that he puts into that is just intense. Yeah, Rio Balsas, that's what it was. That's the river that splits. And he explains that with the Brachypelma, like, that river is big enough to cause like speciation. It's not like it's a small creek or something. Like it's 100% split. And it's got me really, like, I was telling Nisarg when I was talking to him about it, like, I never really paid a whole lot of attention to brackies in general because they just didn't do a whole lot for me. But like, after I got that classy, and now seeing, like, looking at eratum again, which eratum was a species that I had wanted. That was a dream species for a long time and still is. It gave me such a better appreciation for the rest of that genus and stuff now, man, that it's like, I don't know.
Dude, they're absolutely awesome animals. And I've tried Smithi like 3 or 4, maybe I think I've bowled my once. I've had probably 5 or 6 over the years, but dude, I couldn't get them to not kick and go bald. And like,
I think you got to set and forget kind of thing.
Yeah. And like, I wanted to handle them and like enjoy them, but dude, like, it was miserable. I'm duct taping myself every single time I'd clean.
Yeah, I don't. My classy is very, very clearly kind of nervous. Nothing to the extent of like the pokies or anything like that, but yeah, and they're such slow growers is kind of the thing too. Like, they were talking about how you can be looking at an adult Smithy, like female, and think that, maybe that's a 3-year-old spider, and they're like, no, this is going to be like a 7 to 10-year-old spider. Like, it takes forever to grow. Like, it is. Yeah, they are low and slow is the sort of the route with those. So yeah, I'm sitting here thinking that classy I got is, it's probably, a year and a half. That thing is probably, I would think, at a minimum like 2.5, possibly 3. Like, they take a ridiculously long time to grow.
Now, is there a obviously it's difficult to do in the wild because just like snakes, certain animals are going to eat more than other animals and therefore be able to grow bigger and faster, whatever. But in captivity, is there a way that you can gauge a spider's age by size? Like, for example, do brackies do like a half an inch a year or like 1 inch a year, like something to that extent? Is there like a ballpark of that?
I
or
think
no?
there's kind of a ballpark. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to even vary a little bit by species, but things like your baboons and stuff, we were talking about like pulk ripes and Harpactira stuff. Like the reason, those were super expensive a couple of years ago when nobody had them, but then everyone realized like these are stupid easy to breed, they grow stupid fast, and they reproduce like crazy. Like now all of a sudden all that stuff that was at one point really expensive is actually pretty inexpensive in comparison to the slow growing bigger South American stuff.
Yeah.
So the markets, it's weird. Like, I won't say the market, but it's all kind of like flipped. Like at one point when the old world stuff was in short supply and everyone wanted it, prices were crazy high. Now we're seeing things, especially with export and import things changing and shifting constantly. Like the price of some of these things is crazy compared to what it used to be. It's like Stratophora was kind of the example I used for a lot of stuff in the first episode of Arachnids. At one point in the early 2000s, like those things were not hard to get. They were relatively inexpensive. Like no one thought about them, and then they disappeared, and now you can't find a one. So it's pretty interesting.
All right, so like, what's an Usambara going for these days?
The regular, like,
just a normal orange
one.
Yeah.
I think I saw some for like $30 or $35.
Okay, all right, because
there's color forms in like localities.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I thought was really cool.
That is super cool. They were always, like you said, $30, $40, whatever. Big bright orange one, $40.
They're almost always a freebie on most sites if you order more than
really?
$100. It's
we threw away, I want to say thousands, but definitely hundreds of egg sacs over the years.
I believe
because we just imported so many of them of
Yeah.
different sizes and it was like, oh, I don't want to deal with 200 or 300 of these little psychos, And then there was that whole thing about brain damage and neurological issues if you got bit, and then everyone was like, oh no, burn it with fire, only keep the adults as a pet, So I don't know.
They're like copperheads, man. They're just super prolific and super adaptable, and that's how you win in Mother Nature. Is
correctamundo. Well, real quick before we segue, for all of the astronomy people out there, it is a bolide. A bolide, also known as a fireball meteor, is an extremely bright, explosive meteor that can be seen for hundreds of miles. And that's what Casey Cannon and I saw off the coast of West Palm Beach. And we were like 50 miles inland. And it hails from the ancient Greek word bolus, meaning missile. So it was not a double cannon backed water Pokemon.
I'm glad you looked up a picture of Blastoise.
I mean, I know who Blastoise is. I still have my red in my Game Boy Color. Thank you very much.
That's unfortunate because his was blue.
Ha ha ha.
Charmander was red.
I know. It's the cartridge, bro. Anyway, but Arachnids, tip top, man. Tip top. Loved it.
We're planning for episode 2 to be coming Thursday.
Excellent.
Because Jake's recording Flippin' 10, so I told Nisurg, I was like, I have an idea. We strike when Jake does Flippin' 10.
Yeah.
That way I'm not recording 3 times a week. It's streamlined and it works.
Yeah. Now, are you going to have it? So when Jake and Sky record, do they put it out next day like we do with Snakes and Stogies? Or are you going to like stagger them? So like is Arachnid and Flippin' 10 going to come out the same day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I usually just, like with our stuff, sometimes I forget to upload Flippin' 10 because I get sidetracked at work or something the next day, and then it gets forgotten about for another 2 days, and so then I end up uploading Flippin' 10 and something else on the same day, and it's like, it is what it is, whatever. It's out there, regardless, like, whether I upload them at the same time or I stagger them, like, the ones, people who want to listen to them, they're going to go and listen to them. That's whatever. So
duly noted. Well, Eli, you still with us, buddy?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, crystal clear, man.
Perfect.
You still road cruising, or you like making your exit?
But we're heading back towards like the Ocala area right now. We were actually getting ready to call it a night when you called, so this was a good sign to stop.
Fair enough. Well, I was gonna say you've been absolutely killing it lately with the field herping.
I've been getting so lucky because I'm still just cruising the same roads that I always do and going to the same, walk-in spots. And something about this last week has been crazy.
Just switched on, man.
Yeah, it sucks now because it's definitely like the speed of how fast I'm finding cool stuff is slowed down, but I'm still spending just as much time. So I'm waiting for it to kick back up again.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And dude, that Diamondback that you posted, that super tan one.
Oh, I think I screamed when I saw it.
I love it. Why don't you tell us about that Diamondback?
It looked like, when like a piece of bark or like a stick will lose its bark and get real light, like a pine stick or something. That's what I thought it was. And we kind of slowed down like we do for most sticks. I was like, holy crap, it's moving. And jumped out real quick. I was so excited.
That's great, man. That's great. Was that by you, or was that in Ocala area, or what?
No, we were about an hour and a half northeast, or
wow.
northwest of Gainesville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because are you in Gainesville proper, or you're just outside it?
No, we're in like the very outskirts of Gainesville. We still have like a Gainesville address, but we're way out in the woods. We're actually right in a WMA, which is nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. That's crazy. You're in the WMA, but you still drive out to go herping. I love it.
It's insane because I found most of my coolest stuff in that WMA. So every time I drive like 2 hours to go herp and then get skunked, I feel like an idiot because I found a pine snake, a bunch of other cool stuff, a bunch of easterns, all out there, and I drive just to get skunked.
Oh man. And you found a worm lizard, didn't you?
No, I haven't found one yet.
Okay. Still super cool, man. That pine snake was awesome.
Yeah, I really need to find another one of them. I'd like to set up some flip spots, but I need to locate some tin.
Yeah. Do a lot of guys by you use carpet at all, or no?
Not really. It gets so soaked with all the rain we get.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I've talked to around here prefer using tin because the carpet just gets moldy and you just get like a skink and some ringnecks if you use carpet.
Yeah, I've never really found anything decent under carpet.
I just flipped like 10 pieces of carpet and got nothing but black widows.
Ah, damn. Still cool, but redundant.
Yeah, I was just telling my fiance I hadn't seen one in years, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like by me it was always carpet and plywood, and now it's mostly just plywood. I think the tin down by me gets a little too hot, especially during the dry season. And I feel like a lot of guys are finding that if they just get junk plywood, it'll last longer than carpet. It won't hold the moisture as bad as carpet. And if animals are constantly underneath it, it's going to give way to more air or aeration and more divots in the dirt, opposed to carpet that's kind of like sag into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was talking to a few different people about how to set up flip sites for different species because I didn't realize until the last year, like just laying a piece of plywood down isn't going to work for everything that you want to find. So I really want to get some tin or plywood or whatever and build some where I, make the tin stacks. And then I want to do some, I think y'all talked about it, where you put like a water dish underneath of it and it's raised up a little bit. Just
Very
in some
interesting.
of the drier areas, just to see if I can attract different stuff. Because I don't think you're going to get a big, like Eastern Diamondback or a pine or an indigo underneath of a, flush piece piece of like plywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think someone had mentioned putting like cinder blocks or something under like not maybe regular bricks, but something just to raise it up slightly off the ground to where it's not flush on the ground.
Yeah, just to give it a couple inches to where they can kind of squeeze under.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. I don't have any spots like that. Most of the stuff that we do is either road cruising or just, hiking it up, hitting a couple culverts that get flooded out from time to time and turn into like legit running, fast moving creek, if you will. But I do have some friends that still have some flip sites. Yeah, Babbling Brook. That still have some flip sites, but they use old like roadway signs, like highway I-95 turn right, they found over the years in junkyards and stuff, and they'll just lay that. And it doesn't have the zigzag scissorness of your standard tin that people buy, but it works for them. And I've had a couple buddies say, "Oh yeah, I got a really good tin site on this overpass on this highway. Go there at 1 a.m. and underneath." Watch out for bums, and you'll find Everglades rat snakes. And sure as shit, it's there, and it's nothing but fire ants. So I don't know. I don't think I can commit to making my own sites, but I'll check other people's from time to time that they've kind of, I don't want to say given me permission, but they've knowingly told me about. And I feel like we just do better hiking it up.
I got the handful of, I got a couple spots on my parents' property where I've got some tin to varying degrees, and one spot in particular where I've got a handful of tin stacks for the last like year has been absolutely dead. Like I don't even know why I bother flipping back there anymore. Like I think I need to just completely move the tin into.
And you have actual stack, or is it just like laid out?
Some of it's like single sheet laid out, and then some of it is like 3 or so stacks deep. In a relatively shaded area too, not like in direct sun getting blasted or anything like that. And then I have another stack of 3 or 4 sort of off on the wood line, which I put there after Loafman had talked about. He had mentioned to me, I was asking him about it. Like, first of all, our stack's better than single sheets, and everything that I was told by multiple people that do a lot of time out in the field and stuff, they said stacks are almost always more productive just because the heat aspect, especially in the warmer months, you're not getting as hot because you have multiple sheets there sort of cooling down as you go. And that proved to actually be very accurate because the stack that I did have consistently had garters and racers and things under it and some tantilla. And then the single sheets have, for the most part, been absolute duds. But that's kind of the tough thing is like, what if a flip site is so. Let me backtrack. Like on Spring Island, with the Low Country Institute and stuff, like they have certain areas where they have tin out and they find corn snakes and eastern kings all the time. But a lot of it is the same individuals that they find on repeat, which is the same experience I had with those garters and racers. Like I had the same trio of garters hanging out under this tin on a regular basis. The same like 2 racers, more or less. I think there was maybe 1 straggler that was just a bigger adult. But like, does that mean it's a good site if it's the same animals you're just kind of finding every time you go there? Like, what is a good site? Is it every time you go there you're seeing different stuff? Like, are you just finding stuff, period? Does that make it a good site? Like what's the criteria, I guess, is kind of the big question.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going there and I know, okay, I'm gonna find Larry the Eastern King under this one piece of tin because he's there every week when I check, like, is that really, like, does that make it good just because you're finding something?
It's cool, but
it is cool, no doubt.
But it's not. It's cool to be like, oh, let's go check on Larry,
Right.
But it's not. It doesn't have the same exciting adventure factor of not knowing what's going to be there or what could be there.
That spot that I found, that litter of eastern diamondbacks, I stopped going there for about a year because every time that we would go out, we would just find the same like scarlet snakes. Like I could flip the same board and find them there. So I just gave it a year to kind of like cycle through. and it seemed to work. I came back and I think I found 2 clutches of eggs under pieces of tin there, like since hatch now. And then obviously seems like those diamondbacks moved in. But I think with places like that, it does kind of get a little bit redundant to find the same thing over and over again. Unless you got skunked, then it's nice to go there and not get skunked.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I usually just give places time if I keep finding the same snake over and over.
And that's what I did with that bigger area of tin. Was like, I'll go through periods where it's like, okay, I'm not going to go flip it for a month. I'm not going to go flip it for a month and a half. Like, I'm going to give it some time. Maybe maybe that's part of the problem, is because usually on weekends that I'm cleaning mice, like before I start going in there and getting sweaty and covered in shavings and stuff, like, let me go flip and look around real quick and finish a cigar if I got one, like, let me see what might be under there this week. And a lot of the time I don't find anything. So I think that I either need to completely move these tin stacks to another spot, or just stop checking under them so frequently and maybe just leave them be for 6 months, a year, whatever.
Yeah, usually even on an established stack or a flip site, I won't check it more than once every month and a half, 2 months, because I get worried that if it is the same snake, I at least like that snake to stay there. So I always worry if I keep flipping, I'm just going to push them out. So right. I like to let them rest for a while in between.
Yeah, I've also learned that it's the opposite of a trap. So like a trap, you want to check it every day or twice a day, check your trap, right? But on a flip site, I feel like the more activity that's there, it's being displaced too much. There's too much foot traffic. There's too much reverberation. There's too much crunching of noise, whether it be from feet or vehicles, whatever. And it's not it's too undisturbed, or it's too disturbed, excuse me.
Well, yeah, I mean, the point is to make a safe haven. So if you're making a safe haven, but then you're going and flipping it every week, it's no longer a safe haven. It's a high traffic area for that snake. So it can look real nice to us, but those snakes know when people are walking through and there's new smells in the area. You kind of defeat the purpose of making a tin stack if you're constantly, flipping it over.
Yeah. And then Smitty, you had a big compost heap of all your rodent shavings. Did you ever wind up putting like tin or boards on top of that or around that?
I didn't put any on top, but I do have some like half sheets. Like, I have a stack of 3 half sheets right next to it. And I've seen a racer under that.
Really?
That's it. Because I was under the impression, same thing. Like, smells like rodents. This should be like a magnet.
Do you think it's
complete opposite?
Do you think it's too much waste? It's too much poop and pee?
I don't. My thinking is the fact that it's rats and they smell. Okay, there's adult rats. Like, I'm not going to go near that because the likelihood of getting messed up by an adult rat is high, especially if we're talking smaller stuff that's used to eating mice. Like, rats at some point do become a predator if you're small enough. So that's where I'm at.
Will it still attract wild snakes the same if that's not something that they're eating in the wild? Like, just the smell of a bunch of rodents. If they're like, if in your area, if they're raiding more bird nests or they're eating more lizards or skinks or something, is that going to scare them away more than it's going to bring them in?
It's entirely possible. I'm not ruling anything out for sure. I just, again, like, I was expecting when I first put those stacks there, I was like, this should, on paper, this should bring in a lot. And it's actually been the complete opposite of that. I never find anything under that particular stack.
What about that? Obviously it's been some time since I've seen your parents' house, but there's that one road that comes in. Was it a fire lane? Like
it's like a service road.
Okay.
Yeah, it's power line.
Did you ever think about putting stuff on that power line, that fire lane?
No, but if I move stacks, it'll be definitely along the edge of that, because the property behind my parents, not behind it, but next to it, there's a gentleman. He lives in like Tennessee or something. He's not a resident. He has this lot, and it's got some pretty, not super tall grass, but like calf high, like kind of good stuff that I would want to put some tin in, because I feel like it would probably produce pretty well. So whenever I do move those stacks, I'm gonna break it up so that they're not all sort of in the same area. But definitely go do the same thing I did with the stack of 3 that I put on the edge line, a while back that produced a lot. I'll do the same thing there, and that's what Loafman had mentioned to me was like put it in a transitionary area of sorts. So like an open area that's going into like a wood line where maybe something's been cleared or stuff's been, bush hogged or whatever. And that seemed to work. Granted, it's one stack of tin, so it could have just been dumb luck, but I don't know. I mean, I think the fact that there's also a lot of racers, I think, has probably a pretty big hand in why I don't see a ton of stuff besides racers, because the racers are eating everything. So I think if you have a really healthy racer population, you're probably not going to have such a healthy population of much else.
Now, what about on your actual property, on your fence line?
There's not enough space, and I don't think it'd really produce anything. But I also watched a coral snake chase baby rat snakes in the tree in my backyard 2 weeks ago. So what do I know?
Yep. Because I was actually thinking your tree line if you're facing your house, you've got that like fence line on the left. Yeah. You could, I don't know how your wife would feel about this, but it's not, what's the tool? It's almost like a fence post digger. It's got like a trawl hook scoop bowl thing to it. You know what I'm talking about?
No, like an auger.
Yeah, but not spherical. It's like a rounded hoe. Anyway, you could use a tool of sorts and almost dig like a little baby trench.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like when they're putting in fiber optic cable or something,
Yeah.
Do that along the edge. That's maybe, I don't know, 5-6 inches deep, and then cover that, because you'll get standing water in there. You'll get toads, you'll get frogs, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah. So the little lot next door to us, the guy that owns that lives somewhere up in New York. We want to buy it from him at some point, hopefully. But I would not be opposed to putting a stack or 2 on that lot. And granted, it's very small, but I think that might actually produce some stuff too. So
yeah, especially if nobody's living there,
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it'd be nice to find coral again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, Eli, were you the one who had those giant, what were they, water tanks or water jugs, and you were cutting them in half or something? Was that you?
No, I think that was Billy Jenkins.
Was it? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you talking about the big reservoirs?
Yeah. I was going to ask whatever happened with that.
He was going to use them for cages.
Oh, okay. Kind of like what Gron did with the Mertens?
I think so. He was going to put doors on them or something. He was going to modify them some way or another.
Is Jenkins in the chat tonight? Where the hell is that boy?
I don't think he is.
Yeah. Sucker slacking. But yeah, everyone's so excited about summer in the northern states and herping and getting out there, and like it's just so stormy and wet and hot by me. And I don't want to speak for Eli too, but I feel like now tailing out of summer, like into September, man, I feel like that's primo. And everyone wants to talk about Hogtober and all that, but down by me, we don't get them kind of hog nose,
Yeah, I mean, it's just miserable to try to herp in the summer unless you're road cruising on like dirt roads at night. I think it's way too hot for them. And the best luck we've ever had is always like fall or spring. And in the summer, you get lucky to find like you'll find stuff under stacks like by water where they can kind of cool off real quick. But I've never had much luck at all here in the summer.
Yeah, you get the occasional male black racer crossing the dirt road at 2 p.m.
Yeah, that's actually what we have in our yard all the time in the summer. That's like
Yeah.
now we'll find like rat snakes and stuff. In the summer, it's just black racers.
Yeah. There's been a couple of posts on like the local Beaufort page, because there's a couple like tourism type pages that post local stuff, and there's been a couple of people that have seen eastern diamondbacks out on Hunting Island, which is a state park.
I was going to ask you that. Did you ever look into that?
So I did. I got a copy of Diamonds in the Rough, that Bruce Means book.
Excellent. How is it? I saw Derek got one, and it's on my list.
I'm
really
excited to get into it. If you go on Tall Timbers, the publisher, you can get it for like $75.
Okay, cool.
For some reason on Amazon, if you look it up, it's like $2,000 because some moron is like, "This is out of print. Let's jack."
Yeah, but I thought I think Means is selling it for like $80.
You can get it from him direct, or you can get it from Tall Timbers direct. I think I got it for $80 shipped. But it's freaking incredible. Like the amount of detail he goes into with the data and stuff he's collected, because it's basically a culmination of like 40 years worth of research on eastern diamondbacks in Florida and South Georgia, sort of the prime real estate for Easterns.
Oh yeah.
And so it turns out that from like mid to late August up until early to mid October is when you get the highest activity with those, and that's because males are out looking for females. And he gives a lot of information in terms of like time of day when they're moving. Like he gives graphs as far as the radio transmitters, and like pretty much they're not moving at night. Like if you see an eastern diamondback moving at night, it's an anomaly. It's odd. They're usually not, because he said with the charts they had, like they moved from sunrise to sunset, but then once it got dark, they parked and they didn't move.
Interesting.
So he's like they're pretty much diurnal. Which I found this interesting. He talks about them almost being borderline temperate because they did another radio tracking thing that took, I guess, their internal temperature throughout a day, a 24-hour period every 15 minutes. And they have this uncanny ability to keep their body below, I think it said like 95 degrees pretty much at all times.
Really?
Yes.
Very
Is that even when they're like cruising around?
Yeah.
Like during the day?
So. Yeah, I'd have to go back and flip through it, because I was reading it as we were heading out to Hunting Island over the weekend to walk around and see if I could see any. And I'm now tracking the amount of miles I've walked on Hunting Island trying to find an eastern diamondback, and I'm up to 2 trips and 10 miles. Didn't see any. And they have a trail that is like Diamondback Trail, and it is pristine maritime forest that is like picturesque. Like if you saw that, you'd be like,
huh? Do you have any like cruising roads, like dirt roads around you that you can hit?
Here on the island,
or even a little bit more inland.
Yeah,
because I really did get lucky finding those ones walking, but we're up to 1,000 miles in the last week looking for eastern diamondbacks, and we found 3.
Oof.
Well, I think it's also it's very reliant on like a population density thing, because you look at like Harry, and Harry sees easterns and stuff fairly regularly. Derek, granted his job sort of has him moving a lot, but he sees a lot of easterns. I think it's just sort of the area I'm in. Like there are some on Ladies Island, because I've seen people post pictures. They would never tell me where on the island they found them. I have my hunches as to where I think they are seen. But I think if they're still on the island, because granted it's been a while, I think they're in extremely isolated pockets. And I think it's going to be more towards the back half of the island where I am, which is much less developed. But it's I think it's sort of similar to the pygmy thing, where it's like if there's a really healthy population of them, then you're much more likely to see them on a more regular basis than if they're much more scattered and kind of scarce.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just density of the population for sure, and finding little pockets.
Yeah, it takes me a solid hour and a half, either north or west, to get to Diamondback country. And I don't think I've ever found one outside of, say, down by me at least, outside of, say, springtime. And it's crazy you mentioned that the autumn months is when the males are moving, because man, I remember it would be March to beginning of July. You'd only find males crossing the roads, and it would always be between noon and 3 p.m. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you had to hike them up. So,
yeah, well, that's why I thought I was so surprised when he was talking about how they're, he mentions that they're almost temperate, but it's like anytime I've seen pictures of them and stuff, it's like midday, like full blast heat, crazy hot. Like
yeah.
I always sort of was under the impression that they preferred hotter temperatures compared to a lot of other snakes, and especially stuff like a Chistrodon that is much more mobile at night and things like that. Like they kind of operate the opposite of what everything else as far as crotalids do. Because I mean, you don't see timbers and canebrakes cruising like midday in full heat.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Easterns, it's almost like they seem to prefer it. But I mean, granted, this book is probably going to tell me I'm completely wrong on a lot of it, because the other interesting thing is, and after you found that litter of them the other day, Eli, he talks about how, and I don't think this has changed much, but like they know pretty much nothing about the first year of life with Eastern Diamondbacks. Like they have no data, they have no information. Like they don't know what happens. Like they don't know where they're going, where they're hiding out at, what they're eating, like nothing. So I think the fact that you stumbled on a litter like that, like a fresh litter at that, is really, really wild.
Yeah, I definitely like to go back there because that spot's pretty secluded. I don't think many people know about it, other than the folks that went in and really messed it up for me last time by flipping all my tin on its side. But I think it'd definitely be a good spot to go back to and just kind of monitor the babies, because I think they'll stay around that area. It's really the only good structure, and it's a good bit of structure out there too. So I think they have a pretty good reason to stay in that area. So it'd be cool to watch them kind of grow up out there.
Hell yeah. That'd be awesome. You got to take identifying marking pictures and then cross-reference them whenever you find more.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought my camera that day. I'm trying to get a little bit more into like taking okay pictures of snakes, not just phone pictures.
Well, I know some people will, on an amateur level, of course, they take a video of it, 10-second, 15-second video for the Instagram, for the gram. And what they'll do is they'll pause it, zoom in, take a screenshot, and then just kick up the contrast. So that way you can see the pattern of each individual animal. Even though you didn't take a picture of it, you can at least know, okay, wow, that's the same snake I saw last week or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be smart. I might actually try to do that. I'm off tomorrow, so I might run out there in the morning or something and see.
It depends on how pixelated it gets, because sometimes the video isn't the best, especially if you're moving the phone too quick or what have you. But yeah, I think you should definitely try for future snakes too, just to try and see if you can follow them.
If they're in the same area, like I said, I think they should. They're by a it's like an old shed where it's kind of washed out on the bottom, so I think they're staying around that. So it shouldn't have been long enough for them to really disperse too bad. So I think I should be able to at least get a picture of a few of them, hopefully.
Yeah, it'd be great, man. It'd be great.
Those Lycus are cool as hell.
Oh yeah, dude, Lycus, digital camouflage.
Yeah,
love it. Damn, I was gonna say something about Diamondbacks. I forgot.
Get a head count as far as how many babies did you count when you found those the other day?
I didn't get a head count, like a definitive head count. I think there was 8 to 12 because I didn't even realize that there were babies. I was trying to just take a picture of the mom, and then she shot off and kind of slithered over top of all the babies and made them move. So by the time I kind of figured out what was going on, and it wasn't just the ground falling, I could only see like 8 or 10 of them, but I know at least a few of them got up under the shed before I could see.
And Was it how? I mean, how do I phrase this? Any idea how fresh they were born in terms of was there slugs there? Was there goo there?
So I could see that about half of them had their first shed.
Okay. Wow.
So they were super fresh because you could see there were some that looked really nice and clean, and there was little sheds lying around that were still like not even crunchy yet. And then there were some that kind of had that like washed out kind of look to them, like they still needed a shed.
Dude, that's an amazing observation, man. I mean,
yeah,
and
that's
like
such a rare
thing.
Like to beat the fact that like had you been 5 or 10 minutes late, like it took you 5 or 10 minutes longer to get there, like you may not have even seen that. It's just
I was very happy to see that. That's the last thing I expected to see at my scarlet snake spot.
That's great, man. That's absolutely great. I hope you get to see him more. And like we hear about cottonmouths being, dare I say, quasi-maternal in terms of mom hanging out with the babies or the babies hanging out with mom and making sure that they're good before everyone goes their separate ways. I don't think I recall anything with Crotalus doing that.
So I don't know if I got it on video. I don't think I did, but it was really weird. I'd never seen it in any other snake. When she kind of slithered away over top of them, she turned around while I was kind of bending over, like taking videos of all the babies. And she passed by 2 or 3 entrances, to where they were hiding out under that shed. And she came back within like 3 feet and started rattling. It kind of, I could be anthropomorphizing, but it kind of seemed like she did turn around to kind of try to scare me away from the babies. Because I don't know any other reason why she would pass up 3 different opportunities to get to safety and turn around and come back my way. So that was pretty crazy to see.
There was a study done not that long ago, I thought, and maybe it was in that Pygmy book in particular. And granted, that's kind of an older book. Like they had mentioned that there is the potential, like a strong possibility that maybe there is some maternal, not care to a degree, but kind of like how alligators do their thing with their babies. Like they kind of all hang out together for an extended period of time. Granted, it's not going to be as long with crotalids, I don't think, as it is with alligators, but I have to look that up. But.
Well, see, I feel like crocodilian, that I would call that definitively maternal because, I mean, mom's even carrying babies around in her mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, a rattlesnake's not going to
right
offer up food to the babies, but they definitely seem to hang out together.
Yeah, and the question is, was that mom turning around to scare Eli away, or was she turning around to say, hey, kids, come this way. Let's get away from the giant hairless monkey.
Either way, it was crazy to see. It also freaked me out because once she moved away, I was like, all right, I should be good to get a little bit closer. Didn't realize she came back towards me, and I looked over and she was like 3 feet from my hand, and I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
See, here's a paper from that's 2011.
Yeah, the only one that I could think of pit viper wise that really has a bunch of observations of maternal action is Lachesis. I know Lachesis, she'll guard the eggs and she'll protect the eggs from stuff like mold and fungi, but once the babies hatch, they do like what the cottonmouths do, where they basically hang out, make sure the babies are good, still protect the nest, so to speak. And then once babies start venturing off on their own, then mom dips out. But that's so fascinating with the diamondback, man. So cool.
Well, there's a paper from 2011 that followed 11 pregnant Cerberus, so Arizona black rattlesnakes, 4 solitary individuals and 2 aggregations composed of 3 or 4 individuals. This is the abstract. We documented various forms of parental care, including active defensive neonates against potential predators. Parental care differed among solitary and aggregated females. Solitary females spent more time attending and defending their progeny than individuals in aggregations. Natural variation group in size of sea servers provides an ancestral condition in which to examine how group membership may increase fitness through parental care. So
very interesting. And Chris Sanchez says that Social Lives of Reptiles goes over it as well. So I don't have that.
yeah, I'm sure it does. I don't have that one either. I've seen it.
Yeah.
God, I'm like struggling to read this. My eyes suck.
You're also far away.
I'm trying to look at the Facebook comments. Where is Tall Timbers?
It's so there's it's a nature, like a research station, and then they have a publishing company too, but it's in Florida. I'm just trying to remember where. For some reason I'm thinking like Gainesville or Tallahassee.
That would make sense.
I'll look it up right now too. Tallahassee, yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Tallahassee.
I really want to go up there and look for some king snakes.
I want to, dude. I want to get back out there to A&F, man. That was even though we didn't see a whole lot, it was a blast tromping around out there. And
I've never been. I gotta go.
We gotta plan a trip, dude, in spring.
Dude, I got a lot of herps to find on that northern border, man. I'm basically at the point now where I need Keys stuff, Barrier Island stuff, and Panhandle stuff. So,
well, you know what's funny about that too? Go ahead, Eli.
No, I was just saying I still need everything from all around Florida. So,
so on Hunting Island, there's trails that pretty much span the length of the island because it is very long and it's fairly narrow. And then there's that Maritime Trail. There's another one that runs closer to the main road that goes through the island, and then there's one that runs along sort of the lagoon and like beach. And every time I walk that beach one, I'm like, man, this is too close to the marsh. Like, it's too windy. I'm not going to see anything. And then I remember people post pictures of the rattlesnakes on the beach, crawling up the dunes. And I'm like, these things have no rules. What am I doing?
Nope. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can get too close to the ocean herping. I mean, the first coach whip I found, I used to work at a restaurant that was right on the beach. And the first coach whip I ever found, we were pulling out of a lawn chair on the beach because it got stuck in it. So I think as long as I can find a little bit of fresh water, I mean, I think the beach is almost a perfect place for them to be because they can sun and then go right back into the, whatever they are, like the beach grape stuff.
Yeah, that was something else I really appreciated about, the little bit that I did read so far in that book is he talks about the flora that is most commonly associated with eastern diamondbacks. And like, if you're seeing this is what they're often being found in terms of ground cover and trees and things like that too, which I thought was really neat. Like it's very comprehensive. Like no stone gets left unturned in the whole
nice thing. Do they touch base on Barrier Island localities?
Not so much. So when he does talk about the South Georgia stuff, it's St. Simon's Island, which is, it's a bit of a drive for me. It's probably hour and a half, 2 hours. But that is a pretty well known. I think they did some research on him there extensively. But even the Barrier Islands here, I know like St. Helena, which is the next island over. I've got a coworker that lives out there, and she's seen some. Paris Island has a really healthy population of them. I think Jake and I have talked about that. That's the military base, the Marine Corps recruiting depot. That I think Marshall University has done a ton of studies on the eastern diamondbacks out there. But it's not uncommon. There's so many Barrier Islands and stuff here, man. It's insane. I know some people at some of the private islands. There's some guys that have gone hunting on those, and they've seen them.
It's very cool, man. I know Rob Stone and Owen and Billy Hunt got a Eastern on Barrier Island off the coast of Tampa, and that whole Sanibel, Captiva, south of Tampa Bay, all those Barrier Islands, dude, those snakes are super khaki, kind of like the ones that Eli had found. And from the pictures that Rob sent me, going back to the whole basking thing and cryptic basking and just being diurnal, the snake looked kind of shabby because he's living a rough life, but legit just cryptic basking out in the full heat under a straggly looking weed of a plant. And the same thing down in the Keys, man. Like they have silver localities. I don't want to say anery or anything like that, but you know, black
some of the
and
ones
silver.
that KJ posted, man, like the ones that are like
yeah.
patternless from the tail, and then the pattern just sort of really ramps up towards like just. If I saw those, dude, I'd freaking piss my pants. Like just incredible.
Yeah.
Easterns.
Yeah. I just think that Barrier Island stuff is super fascinating, especially just the fact that it's saltwater locked, you know, like that's awesome.
Dude, it doesn't stop them here because I think the salinity of our water here is a lot higher than a lot of places for whatever reason. And that's one of the reasons our oysters are so coveted here in the low country is the salinity of the water makes them have a very interesting flavor. But yeah, I mean, aside from like the major sound that sort of breaks Beaufort up, like all those smaller creeks and stuff, even some of the slightly wider ones, like it's not going to stop an adult Eastern from going right through it, like right across it. It's
Smitty,
nothing
do you know if there's any like woodland on Paris Island that like soldiers can go into?
Yeah, I mean where they're studying them is the same place that they do a lot of the training, like in field training.
Do you know if they let them hunt out there?
No.
Yeah, no, it's super off limits to civilian access.
Well, so I know like Fort Knox where I used to live, there's like 53,000 acres of woodland that's owned by the military.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go in and sign out those areas and go out and herp and you can hunt and do all that stuff. So I didn't know if there was a way to do.
They don't do that out there.
With it's Air Force Base by me that. No, go ahead, Smitty.
It's a recruiting depot, and so honestly, they don't even allow firearms and live ammunition. Oddly enough, like you would think it's a military base and that they would do that, but because it's a recruiting depot, all firearms and stuff are locked up away from where anybody can get them. Because unfortunately, they have a fairly high self-deletion rate.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, there's a very large portion of that is completely wooded, and it is used for training. Whatever tactical woodland type scenarios they have to learn.
I mean, if you really want to find an Eastern, go enlist for like 6 months. Out there to training.
Man, I'd die. I'd be like Private Pile. Sneaking a jelly donut in my trunk.
I mean, it might be worth it for the Easterns.
Like I can get on Paris Island. That's not a problem. It's not hard. It's not impossible. But to get out there where it's happening, if you were out there walking around, like you'd 100% get arrested under suspicion of doing something you're not supposed to. Like without a doubt, you'd get surrounded real quick.
Are there any like perimeter roads or anything you can drive?
I mean, there's got to be. I don't recall seeing any, but once you're kind of on Paris Island, everything you need to do as far as like the exchange and things like that is all very concentrated in a sort of one area. But I'm hoping I can hunt down someone that is in contact with the people that are doing any of the studies out there and be like, I will hold the radio telemetry backpack for you and follow you around.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll do it. I'll carry your water bottle.
With your network, you might be able to talk someone into that for sure.
I'll hold the flashlight, Dad.
That might work.
But it's crazy too because Means also mentioned, like, even with the radio telemetry and stuff, he's like, they'll be within 5 or 10 feet of a snake, and the thing's going off like it's right there. Like the beep is happening, like the receiver's receiving, and they can't see it. Like the camouflage on those things is so unbelievably good, especially in low-lying cover and stuff. He's like, you're not seeing those things. You're practically standing on top of them before they realize they're there.
Yeah, I just wonder how many you miss walking through the woods and don't even realize that you're like 5 feet away from them.
Man, or less.
I think about that with every species.
Yeah.
Especially corals. How many are under my feet right now?
That's actually exactly how I found the one out of the Bartolini's place. I was using their like golf cart to bring people into their little party before Daytona, and I stepped off the golf cart and saw something move next to my foot. I'd been sitting there for an hour, didn't see anything come in, and it was a coral right next to my foot.
Man.
Last Carpet Fest we were there, Tim Morris is like, I just saw a coral under the porch, and I had literally walked out like 30 seconds beforehand or after. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, Jesus. I was like, what? I did something to really piss God off because he continues to taunt me.
I think they're just hard to find.
Yeah.
I think you kind of just have to get lucky finding a coral.
That's it, man. It's all about luck.
I'm in one of the best populations of corals in the state. My neighbors see them all the time. I have friends that see them all the time.
You'll find them.
The fact that the first live one I've seen was right in my backyard, and I didn't even get to see it for more than like 2 minutes. And that's the first one I've seen in like something ridiculous. Like, what did I say? The last one I saw was like 2007 or 2006. Like,
I don't know. I don't think you got anywhere to talk, man. I thought you'd never seen one. I didn't realize it's just been a long time. See, I've never caught one. I've had people be like, hey, man, I got a coral snake in a bucket. You want it? And I'll go and get it and look at it and let it go, But
I wish I'd gotten pictures of this one, dude, because the couple that I've seen pictures of and this one that I saw, like, the red and the yellow just fade into one another. It's not like a clean band, so it just looks like it's like a gradient. It kills me.
Hurry up and field collect them before everything gets shut down in South Carolina.
Yeah, right.
I ain't keeping corals.
I tried, man. I tried for a little while. I had a big, like 20-something incher, and dude, it didn't eat for like 3 months. I let it go.
See, that's wild. The one we had at the Nature Center did great.
Yeah, man.
There's something that breeds them. You guys have talked about them. I'm terrible with names.
Is it Jack Vicente?
I believe so.
Yeah.
The master.
Have you seen? Maybe it's not him, but there was a video out years ago on YouTube of how they feed their coral snakes, where they just have like tubing and they just blend up. It was crazy. Like you watch them, they just like just slide them onto the tube, squeeze a caulk gun. It's like, cool, he's good for the week.
Yep, he's not science, dude.
Yeah, I can't get into that, man. That's the problem with what I had with the stilettos is I can't do the whole tube feed, man. I've seen too many bad things happen, and I'm not professional enough to make it right,
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely risky if you haven't done it thousands of times.
Yeah.
Especially with stilettos. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm trying to see if I can get a screenshot of this coral in the little spot that I saw it and got it on video.
I can't believe you didn't just grab the thing with hemostats and yoink it out.
I didn't have any hemostats, dude. And by the time I would have run inside and grabbed them, it would have been gone.
You got family members.
Take the bite at that point. Grab it.
Yeah, I would have busted that bark open so quick.
It's not bark. It's a whole ass tree, dude.
Oh, okay.
After you had mentioned that, though, I was like, I do need to get a big pair of those rubber tipped for this very occasion and just let them.
Dude, forget the rubber tip. Just grab that sucker, man. He'll be all right.
I've still gone back multiple times and looked through this tree stump. the base of this tree to see if maybe it just happened to appear again.
Yeah, and actually, just to comment on the whole grabbing snakes with hemostats thing. Disclaimer: if you are going to use some kind of metallic pincer to grab small snakes, if you're using hemostats, yes, you should have rubber tipped ones, or dip the tips in liquid latex, or wrap them in tape of some kind so that you're not actually injuring the snake.
Sandpaper.
But if you use the giant tweezers, the ones that don't have alligator teeth on them, you really don't even need to tip them, because as long as they're long enough, which obviously be using longer ones for venomous snakes, it doesn't matter how hard you squeeze, you're not going to hurt that snake, because there's so much flex in those tweezers that, I mean, providing it's not a neonate and you're crushing it completely, for you to grab an animal with those giant tweezers, that actually works really, really well. So,
isn't that how they sort like a spittlelaps and stuff?
Yeah, dude, that's what Henry and I had rubber tipped ones. We dipped them in liquid latex, and I wound up just using non-rubberized ones because I was sick of, because it gets crappy and falls apart. You know, the liquid latex peels off.
Yeah.
But dude, I mean, we had, oh God, I don't even know, like 50 coral cobra babies that just would not ride a hook. So we would just grab them with tweezers and move them, you know? And all the rock rattlesnake guys out west, all they use is tweezers. They don't bring snake hooks with them. They just bring 24-inch tweezers.
I mean, it seems way easier than trying to hook a bunch of baby tiny.
Yeah. Miserable.
Even adult spittlelaps are tough to hook.
Yeah, for sure.
When they're freaking out.
Yes, sir.
You bastard.
You find it?
Yes. Stand by. Now just picture in your mind's eye a whole coral with that going on.
That's actually really cool, man.
That's almost orange.
That's really cool. The fading. Yeah. Dude, that's where you keep it and just feed it corn snakes.
God knows I produced enough of them. Jesus.
Dude, I would keep that and feed it corn snakes.
I'd have a hard time feeding it.
Awesome.
Feeding it corns, though. I love my corns too much. I'd feel bad.
I would just buy them from you.
You definitely could have grabbed that thing. If you hold them halfway back, you can control the head.
Yeah. If
there's
anything we've learned, that's how it's done.
Jesus.
There's no need to be scared of them.
Should have gone to the school for that.
Anyway, you have more video of it, or?
I mean, the video I do have that this is taken from is you see it for, I don't know, like 5 seconds. But it was a very decent sized adult that would have really put a hurting on you if it gotten hold of you. Do
the others that they find in that area look like that, with that like ombre?
In my neighborhood, yeah.
That's really cool.
But this actually is a good point, because the whole red on black, black on yellow crap, when you see that and it's orange, people will be like, wait a second, it doesn't have red. So I can see where there would be some confusion there. But I also like the fact that the black is like jet black. Like there's no tipping or anything like that.
Sharpie marker.
It's crazy that the red and the yellow blend together, and then there's just this like strict cutoff on that yellow.
Yeah.
It's black. Like there's no mix. I guess there's a little bit of mix there, but like
against the black.
I meant
it
in
just
the middle
stops.
Of the red,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool how it blends and then just stops.
Well, I gave it an extra sheen with the tears that I dropped upon it.
That'll happen.
Maybe I'll see it again.
Maybe.
They're so freaking quick, man.
Yeah.
But I can't tell if they're like actually fast or if it's because when they move, the pattern like makes them look like they move a lot faster than they do. I feel like there is a bit of an optical illusion thing going on.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why it's like that. You know, they look like they're going faster than they are, but I still feel like they are way faster. And it's not necessarily fast in terms of like locomotion speed. It's the fact that it's beautifully negotiating whatever obstacle it's going through and your bleak monkey attempt at trying to procure it.
It was bleak. I'm glad that didn't get filmed.
I didn't realize how well their pattern blends into the ground or like tall grass when they're moving. You'd think it would kind of make them stick out really well, but once you lose them in the grass, they're gone.
Oh yeah, dude, they disappear. Like they straight up, they just vanish. It's wild. Even like my neighbors that have seen them in their yard on multiple occasions, they have a couple of magnolia trees, and of course those magnolia leaves are just covering the ground. And it's like as soon as they disappear under those, you could take like a rake and just try and clear a whole 5-foot radius around you as quickly as possible, and that thing's just gone. They just disappear. Especially when you have that super soft, like loamy soil that we have like back there where I found it, that you step on it and you can just feel the whole thing just compress. Like they get right into there, man, and it's gone.
Well, the one we found, I was with my fiance and we saw it on the side of the road, and we used like a little stick. I didn't have a hook with me to like flick it back to the road, and she ran home to grab a hook so that we could try to get some pictures of it with the camera. And I was like, well, I'll just let it kind of slither into this grass real quick, and I'll just watch it. And as soon as its tail was gone, I was like, nope, can't do that, and spent a few minutes digging through the grass trying to find it.
Yeah, they just Houdini, man.
It's just insane for such a bright snake to just be gone.
Yeah.
And especially when they're that big, too. Obviously, they're not huge, but they're not like ringneck size where you expect them to just disappear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Kasiki said that snake's still in your backyard, So yes, Kasiki, I do know that. Thank you.
Probably still right in that stump.
Probably. I've gone back there and dug around a little bit more because there's still another baby. There's still at least one more baby rat snake because I found another shed. So as long as those baby yellows are still hanging out, there's still the potential for that thing to be hunting for them.
It'd be kind of cool if you could put one of those Gobi cameras inside of that stump, if it would reach.
I did. So I did get I did get an endoscope. So I know Phil and we've talked about it for a long time. I finally ended up just buying one, not for corals or anything in particular, but there's a couple armadillo burrows.
Personal hygiene.
Yeah. I think Keller in the group chat was like, what are you going to do with that? I was like, wouldn't you like to know?
Check your own prostate.
Saving myself some doctor bills, buddy.
Yeah, right.
Saving money. I'm my own insurance. I got it. It's like a 16.5-foot one that plugs directly in your phone. The app is super easy to use. I started making a review on it and then got super frustrated because, as it turns out, if it's a very deep and wide burrow, it's very hard to drive, if that makes sense. Like, get it to go around corners and things. And if the camera cable gets flipped, then your camera's upside down and it gets kind of hard to tell what's ground and what's up. So I got this thing. I played with it it was like the weekend before last for probably a solid hour and a half and got frustrated and then just went home.
I've seen guys that take a broom handle or equal designed pole, if you will, and they put an eyelet at the end. They put two eyelets, one like mid shaft, one at the tip of the pole, and they fish the endoscope through both eyelets. And they keep the camera at the tip of the pole so you can get it down the burrow as much as humanly possible. And then as you're fishing more line down, it has those two eyelets as a guide.
That's what I started to do because I was like, oh, I'll take this 1/2-inch PVC and I'll just feed it through that and get it as far into the burrow as I can and then push it through some more to see what I can find. But the problem was the piece of PVC I had was like 8 feet. And so I was having to stand behind it like 8 feet Had the
Yeah.
phone on the ground trying to pay attention to where it's going, but then realizing it's upside down, so I got to spin it. And then like because it's like a semi-flexible, bendable cord, like it's stiff still, so it doesn't really turn when you want it to. It was a whole thing. I mean, I took it with me when we went to Hunting Island over the weekend. I'm definitely bringing it this weekend. And some of the old palmetto logs, like trunks, were completely hollow, and they'd be 10 feet long or whatever, and like through and through. So I fed it through there and checked it out, and
anything,
some other stuff, and isopods.
Damn.
That's it.
Is there a light on it?
Yeah.
That's
It's
cool.
adjustable too, and you can take pictures and video on the app.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, I got it for $27 and change. Like, if something happens to it, it's replaceable, and the quality's decent. I mean, the video is fairly clear. It's about as good as you'd expect a $27 endoscope camera to be. But
yeah, I've always thought about putting a GoPro on the end of some flexible PVC and just see if I can look inside all the gopher tortoise burrows, because I know there's got to be rattlesnakes in there, and it'd be cool to see gopher tortoises in there.
Well, that's why I got it, because there's all these armadillo burrows that I keep finding. I'm like, man, I'll bet you there's something in there. And then Jake and I were talking about it like the week before last, and I was like, I need to get an endoscope so we can start looking in these things.
Yeah.
Turns out one of those burrows, like the really fresh one that I was looking at, that thing just keeps going and going and going. Like far down as I got it, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like there's no, like, why would you dig this far down? Like you're pretty much at the water table at this point. Like this is ridiculous. And I don't know. I didn't see anything. 16 and a half feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is nice, but the downside is then it's a pain in the ass to carry if you don't have it looped up and sort of together. Like, especially if you're walking through the woods and stuff, it's snagging on trees and all this other crap. It's kind of frustrating. It's a very clunky, but it's it's cool. And if I'm gonna do the PVC thing again for sure, I'm gonna take that piece and cut it in half. Because it doesn't have to be that long. It's just enough to get it in there initially and figure out, exactly where the dead end is, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, I wonder if you could get a piece of conduit or even like fish tank tubing, if that would help. Be a little lighter, a little less cumbersome.
Yeah, probably. And then, well, the other problem I found with it too is like if you're in very sandy soil, which I was, if you're going in and you're hitting the dirt, it kind of starts to cake around the lens and can sort of completely block it up at some point. So you have to pull it out, clear it off, do it again. So I think it's just a matter of it just takes practice.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. It's a nice tool to have at the very least. Like for that coral situation, it would have been perfect because like it's not so far down. Like I can see where I need to be looking, but because it's so dark in there and because I can't stick my head in the entire hollow to be able to look down in there, like especially the inside part where that coral was, where I couldn't really see it until I had like really sort of stuck my face in there and peeked down. It would have been perfect for that because there was also a bunch of loose bark and stuff down there that was in the way and that I couldn't move because I didn't have anything to like pull it out like on hand. So it would have been absolutely perfect for that because I could take it in there and fish it through whatever I need to fish it through. Up in the opposite direction of that tree, up in the hollow part, I can put it up there and see what I can find. And this one comes with the adapters for the iPhone and then the old micro USB version before the new one had just came out. But it comes with the current version that plugs direct in. And then the app, like you don't even have to install any drivers or anything. Like you literally plug the camera in and the app opens up and you're looking right at it.
Oh,
like
that's
instantaneously. Awesome. Yeah, it's solid. It's cool. It's nice to have. It's definitely something just to have in your bag. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
And it's also waterproof for the most part. So
you should, after the show, find it on your Amazon orders list and share it.
I will. I mean, I'll copy the link right now and post it.
Smitty, do you think if you took a fishing pole and put it on the end, if you ran like if you tied a piece of fishing line to the end eyelet on a fishing pole and ran it back through up to your hand, you could probably put the endoscope on the end, and if you tugged that fishing line, it would bend the pole up to keep it out of the dirt. So that way you could kind of articulate the end of it, look up and around. And you can get fishing poles that are, 10 feet long and break down into like 3 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That might help.
Yeah, that's an idea. I think just like a half-inch PVC, it's not thick, so it can go through a really nice small piece of PVC. It doesn't have to be anything massive, and it worked really well as like a good guide.
Yeah, I just meant more for like keeping the lens out of the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you
it also
little corners and stuff too.
It comes with little attachments, so like it comes with a hook that you can put on there. So if like you drop keys or something in a sewer or something, you can go down there and hook it out, and it's got a magnetic piece that you can attach to it, so you can.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. For $27, it's I lied, $30.99, but it's got a $5 coupon right now.
So
hell yeah, man.
Coral snake a magnet and put that magnet piece down there, you might have a way to get it out.
I want to take it to the little cypress wetlands area we have and put it in the water and stuff around some of the turtles, just to see what the turtles do with it. It'd be kind of funny.
I think it'd be awesome. Yeah, I think it's super cool that we have all this tech now, and like most of it's reasonably affordable, and it just makes building out the herping backpack just that much better, because obviously you said that you had to spool it up, and it can be a little cumbersome if you're carrying it around in the field, but like I'm sure it packs up well in a small backpack.
It does. Coiled up, and because it comes with Velcro straps to contain it and stuff, or whatever you want to call it. But like coiled up like that, I could keep it in my back pocket, and that's what I did when we were hunting.
Oh wow!
I just carried it around in there, and then anytime I wanted to use it, just bust it out, hook it up.
Nice.
Eat it.
That'd be nice to look under houses and stuff too. Like some of the places I look are like old abandoned sheds and stuff, and I can't crawl on it. But that'd be nice to be able to stick that under and kind of see what's under there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually been looking at the new DJI Micro 4 drone, and it's a autonomous drone. So you don't have to have joystick, you don't have to have a controller or a phone chassis. You can pre-program it, follow me or pan away or whatever, and the whole thing will literally fit in your pants pocket. They're relatively inexpensive. They're not out yet. It's supposed to come out, I guess, in like a month or so. Like I'm not a drone guy at all, but I've dabbled with the idea of it because I think it'd be very cool. The restrictions on drones are so heavy nowadays that I never see people flying them. Mm-hmm. But I know that as long as you're under a certain height or whatever, it's okay in some of the natural areas. They just don't want poachers using it to herd deer or find out where the deer are to poach them, things like that. But I think it'd be pretty cool to have a autonomous drone that you could just put in your pocket and use your cell phone. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, man, the technology overall is just, it's all moving so quick. It's insane.
Yeah, man.
If you could keep that, I would about it running into trees. I don't know if they have any like object detection on them.
You're muted.
Say that one more time. You cut out.
Nope. I was saying the only thing I would worry about with the drones is running into trees. Like if it's low.
So
if you have any real tall pine or anything.
So it has the feature that one of the features it has is like follow me feature, where basically it scans you and follows you at whatever height you set it to. And some of the videos I've watched on YouTube of like guys like not running on a hiking trail, but like walking briskly, and like it maneuvers around branches and stuff. Like it has its own gimbal built in. It's only a one axle camera, but the ability of the drone to negotiate, obstacles in a minute fashion is incredible.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and like one guy, it has FPV settings. So the one guy I was watching, he had FPV goggles from DJI, and he was flying it through the canopy of like these super tight pine trees.
Have you seen the
And
races people do with those things, dude?
oh yeah, of course. But like this is him. So he's flying it through the trees, but he's showing you that he's not avoiding the branches. It's avoiding the branches.
Oh, that's
Does that
awesome.
make sense? Yeah. So
That-
like,
that
yeah,
was great.
he's making it go straight and he's making it bank to the right and bank to the left. But like there's branches that would normally touch it and knock it out or move it around, and it's minutely avoiding said tree limbs. It's also a closed propeller like the Avadas, so it has the ability to
Oh,
bump
that's
into
nice.
stuff. Yeah, so
Oh,
let's say it doesn't avoid the tree, or you're flying it manual and you crash into a bush. As long as it hits a bush, it's fine. Now, if you hit a tree trunk going, 30 miles an hour, then yeah, it's going to break. It's cheap plastic, but it definitely has the enclosed propellers like the Avadas so that it can bump off stuff.
That's cool. We have a DJI up here we've been messing around with on the WMA, and that's my only worry with it is hitting trees and stuff. So that's nice that they made that one where it automatically misses them, and the
Yeah.
closed propellers so they don't get destroyed.
Yeah, and I know that the it has these little propeller guards on the top and bottom of the actual propeller like housing or chassis that it's in, and if you take the guards off, it actually gives you like an hour and a half extra battery life, I guess, because it's not working so hard fighting drag and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
But yeah, the guy like literally just showing him like driving it into a bush and it just bounces off the bush and it's still hovering, or it crashes into the bush, shuts off, and then he pushes a button and it takes off out of the bush and returns to him.
That's pretty impressive because
Yeah.
I would hate to lose a drone like up in the canopy of a pine tree somewhere.
Yeah. As long as it's not like stuck, you can,
Yeah.
use your phone if you're within Bluetooth range of the device, say within 100 yards or 50 yards or whatever it is, you can push a button, it'll fix itself and then return home and land in your hand.
That's awesome. That'd
Yeah.
be really cool to have.
Yeah, and it's from what I gather, it's the same size as a Mavic with the propellers folded.
I don't really know how big that is. I'm not
Yeah.
too.
So like I mean, I guess like two grapefruits put together, about say maybe
Okay.
I mean, I'm guessing, I've never held one, but I'm guessing it's probably 8 or 9 inches by 6 inches.
Oh, that's definitely packable.
Yeah.
That's not,
Yeah, I think that was the whole thing, is that they wanted it to be the same footprint as a Mavic with the propellers all folded in and stuff, because you can take a Mavic and just put it in your back pocket. This one, they showed the guy literally put it in, he's wearing normal slacks and he puts it in his front right pocket.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. So, and from what I gather, it uses a rechargeable ion battery, but you can buy like a docking station for 3 batteries, and unlike the old units, if you had a docking station that had 3 or 4 batteries on it, it would only charge 1 battery at a time. When that battery was charged, it would jump to the next one. This one charges all 3 at once. So it's a ton of technology in the past 6 to 8 months. Because like I would love to get an Avata, man. I'm watching all this tactical stuff overseas with dudes like flying Avatas, doing like anti-terrorism stuff, and like it's super cool. And flying the Avata through the doors and stuff. But they're like $1,200 a piece. So I feel like this new Micro 4 is going to be a really cool change of pace, especially for us naturalists that aren't doing room clearing or military operations. I feel like it'd be pretty cool to throw it in your backpack and just pull it out to get some cool shots, panning over the swamp or through the palmetto heads or whatever.
Well, yeah, I wanted to bring out our drone to get some videos while we're driving through real pretty country, field herping. It'd be cool to get some like big sweeping shots, but I didn't want to lose it because obviously it's not going to automatically follow the car.
Yeah.
And I think driving and piloting a drone is going to be pretty tough to do at the same time.
Yeah. Well, what most people do is the passenger is piloting the drone, following the car while the driver drives the car. But on this new one, you can actually have it sit outside the window of your car, and it will, as long as it can see you, it'll follow the car.
Oh, so it scans your body?
I don't know if it's got, I don't think it has facial recognition or like body type. It knows there's a person there. I imagine if you had like 4 or 5 people, it might get confused. I don't know, because the thing's not out yet. I'm watching dudes who got to play with it pre-release on YouTube. But like there's one point when the guy is literally like jogging down the trail and it's following behind him at a medium pace. And then at the same time, he's in his car driving, and it's just like he's idling. You know, he's not driving, and it's just sitting by the window, just going with him.
Okay, so it's following him, not just the device that it's connected to.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay,
it's a good question.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be really cool to have. Do you know how much they're going to be?
They're gonna be like $400.
That's not bad.
Yeah, something like that. So. Yeah, it's supposed to come out in October, so we'll see how it goes.
That'd be cool. Have you seen the new drones they're using down in the Everglades for the pythons?
No, what are they doing with them?
They're so instead of like thermal imaging, they're doing it like they said they can pick out like the refraction off their scales, so it'll light up the same way as thermal, where they can fly through the swamps and it'll pick them up against like, you know, dirt.
Really?
It'll light up bright red with just the refraction instead of, you know, thermal, because obviously if they're the same temperature as the water, you're not going to pick them up. But they said they've been trying it and it's working pretty well, which
interesting.
is really nice for herping.
Very interesting.
Kind of cheating, but you know.
Yeah. I know that they're down by me. They're super restrictive on drone stuff, like in the cities and the towns, and then even in some of the WMAs, like most of the WMAs by me, there's no drones allowed at all. But you still see people getting some really cool shots because they're keeping it low enough. You know, they're not being a pest. They're not hunting. You know, they're bird watching at a distance where the buzz of the drone isn't going to scare the birds. You know.
Well, I know ours, like our WMA, there's an airport right on the other side of it, so I definitely thought we were going to be completely shut down on any drones, anything flying. But they said as long as you keep it under, I think it's 200 or 150 feet, you're allowed to fly through there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. That's very cool.
Yeah, they're fun to mess around with and get nice shots with.
Yeah, hell yeah.
They're banned in a lot of the national parks.
Yeah, I think they banned all of them.
I think so.
Yeah. And like, I get it, man. I understand why. You know, there's a million reasons why. So, but I also feel like it's difficult to get herping access to private property. It's equally hard to get hunting access to private property. But a lot of people don't care if you're flying the drone over, you know, cattle field or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it over orchards, you know, or agricultural areas per se, because I know people get freaked out about sabotage and competitors and all that jazz. But I feel like there's still a lot of cool places to explore with drones within a certain degree, as long as you're not a jerk about it, you know.
Do you know why they banned them in national parks? Is it just too many people flying them, or?
I think it was just overall disturbing habitat and wildlife.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. There were guys out west that were literally using it to like herd elk and herd mule deer, because they're using a larger drone that's say 2 or 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
And the buzz alone scaring the animals. So they would use the drone to find the deer and then use the same drone to herd it towards the poachers.
obviously poachers are bad, but they are kind of genius. That's yeah, definitely not great to do, but that's crazy that they thought of that.
Yeah. And down by me, most of the cities have outlawed the drones in town because people were being jerks about it. They were spying on people sunbathing in their backyard, or they were flying it by people's windows to be annoying because they didn't like their neighbor. And we had a lot of people discharging firearms at them, which is, again, illegal. And then it turned out that, well, if you hit it with a wet towel, it'll crash. So, the two girls in bikinis sunbathing in their yard, and some jerk is flying a drone overhead, and here they are throwing wet towels at it. They hit the drone crashes. Then that guy sues them for breaking his $3,000 drone. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, just a bunch of stupid people messing it up.
Yep. Just invasion.
It wasn't gonna take long for it to get weaponized.
I mean, yeah, let's not even talk about Ukraine right now. Jeez. Talk about drones.
I didn't want to bring it up, but
yeah,
I
we'll
mean, weaponized.
leave it at that.
People are gonna find the wrong ways to use it.
Yeah. Yes. Scott's in the chat. He says, "Bird strike, America." I do think it's crazy when you see some of the guys flying drones and like a Peregrine Falcon like takes it out. I think that's awesome.
That would be, if you could get the video of that, that'd be crazy. If you could see it like coming in on the drone camera.
Oh yeah, dude, it's all over YouTube.
Oh, I'll have to look it up when we get.
Yeah, look it up later. It's like Falcon takes out drone, or like Eagle takes out drone, and like there's what's that one hawk? There's a Harris hawk. And dude, there's a Harris hawk like coming at the DJI, and like that guy is crying. But I mean, he's also 500-600 feet up in the air, and this Harris hawk just bombs it.
That'd be bittersweet to get that footage, but also lose your drone.
Yeah, exactly. And then you feel bad for the bird because the bird got hurt in some way.
Yeah, and probably pissed off that it just caught something it can't eat.
Oh, for sure.
I still find it hilarious that Amazon thought that they could use those to deliver packages. Like, what on earth made you think that would work?
I think that was just a PR stunt.
What'd you say, Eli?
I said, I don't know if they've written it off yet, have they?
I hope so. It's like, how many people are going to lasso drones out of the sky and steal packages?
With how many Amazon drivers have gotten stuck on our road, I really wish they would use drones. It would be a big help.
Yeah, I'm sure in some of the more rural areas it'd probably be better, but in a lot of suburbia and megalopolis of the like, I'm sure it's a bit redundant.
Megalopolis.
Yeah,
is that
you definitely have the
Blastoise?
same people destroying them. So
yeah, I'm sure the FAA would have a field day with that.
yeah, it'd be kind of tough to regulate thousands of drones in one city.
Yeah. I'm sure it would also be a huge annoyance.
It'd also probably be terrible for the birds in the city too, because there's no way they're avoiding every bird.
Pigeons don't stand a chance.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty detrimental. Phil, have you been
You gotta say that again, man. You got digital for a second there.
I said, have you been herping down there lately?
No, actually, I have not been since my car crash. I got a new car, and I have not taken it on a dirt road yet. So I'm long overdue. It's been a very hectic summer, very busy summer, and I just haven't had the ability to do it. So, but I'm long overdue, man, for sure.
Yeah, we've lived in the same state too long to have not gone herping together. So I need to come down there, go to the Everglades or something.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure. Anytime you want to come down, bro, we'll do a night.
Yeah, I'll definitely I'll get with you soon because I really need to go down and stop just going to Loop Road every time.
Yeah, and honestly, the motel that Jake and Sky and myself went to when they came down, dude, that was like, it was a cute little motel. It was clean. It was right where we wanted to be. It was in the thick of it, and easy access to dirt roads and the highway. Like, it was a good time, man. You got to come down.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. That's it's really far, so I definitely do need to make a few days of it, but I definitely need to make it down.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. Maybe if we can't do it before it gets quote unquote cold, then we'll definitely plan for something in spring, because it needs to happen.
Springtime. Yeah, we can definitely work something out next spring.
Yeah, and I'd love to orchestrate a Keys trip, even if it's like a long weekend, and just like get a bunch of us to go down to the Keys and split a hotel somewhere, and just, you know, sleep during the day, herp all night, and be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. There's definitely a lot of places in Florida that I really want to go herping. I wasn't too into it when I first moved down here. One, because I was too young to drive a car, so I can't really be into it. But now that I have a little bit more free time, I definitely want to go around Florida and start checking off species for sure.
Yeah, man, we got a hell of a large state, and people don't realize it takes about 7 to 8 hours to get from tip to tip. So we got a lot of land to cover and amazing species to see.
Yeah, and I was talking to KJ this last week. I think he might think I'm slightly stupid because I kept messaging him and I was like, dude, I found a great spot for whatever species. He'd be like, nope, those aren't here. Those aren't there. I was like, dude, come on. And I didn't realize how many like areas of Florida it says that there's like a certain type of snake in. And then he's like, no, those haven't been there in years. They're only in this little pocket. And I realized that I need to drive like 3.5 hours plus to find all these species that are supposed to be right around me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And I feel like it also has a lot to do with certain areas that were inhabited and overdevelopment, man. We bulldozed it, you know, or we made a highway, and it's just not around anymore. So
there's so many dudes that I work with that like you talk to and they're like, yeah, we used to find, you know, a bunch of indigos or a bunch of, you know, rattlesnakes here, but you know, we shoot everyone we see, but it's weird that we don't see anymore. It's like, well, when you're shooting everyone that you see, that's probably why.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mix of development and people finally realizing that when you're shooting every rattlesnake you see, you're not going to see more rattlesnakes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I feel like back in the day, your field guide had the marked off colored zone of the area where X, Y, and Z was inhabited. And obviously that's thinned out now. It's I don't want to say it's diminished, but it's a lot smaller area than it was. But it's also not to say that they're not there. It's that they've just been isolated. And whether it's in specifically WMAs or it's on private property, you know, like the Collier family, who owns the majority of land in southwestern Florida. I mean, crap, there's a county named after them. I can't remember how many millions of acres they own, and it's majority either natural wetland, cypress heads, palmetto scrubs, cypress bogs, that is just there in case they want to use it, in case they want to build on it. But then the majority of it is also cattle too. It's just fields and fields and fields of cattle. So like there's a ton of land where there's probably millions and millions of diamondbacks, but we'll never see them. We'll never know they're there. And there's no way to do a head count because it's all private. So who the heck knows?
Yeah, it's not really like you can just call them up and ask if you can go herping on their property. So,
well, you know, I feel like there is a way to do it. It just takes some work. You know, you gotta You got to make contact and make connections and prove to them that you're not a dirtbag going to mess up their property or shoot all their deer or anything like that. I think that it takes legwork. It does. And then knowing people and meeting people and gaining that trust. So, you know, like anything in life, if it's worth it, it's not going to be easy.
For sure. Yeah. There's so many places that I know there's got to be snakes. Like down where my parents live, just in the past 5 or 6 years, so much land down there has just been bulldozed, and there's little pockets inside of it where I know there's still snakes.
Where do they live?
Down in like Sarasota, Venice.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know there's snakes in there, but you can't go through, 3 miles of gated community to go to a little place in the back, a little wooded area without getting the cops called on you now. So I think there's a bunch of stuff in there that you're probably just never going to see unless you live in those areas and you have access to it. So it really sucks.
Yeah. And like you've got the rimrock species that are endemic to a small elevated coral reef habitat that's just south of Zoo Miami, down in Homestead. And this is that area that they were going to bulldoze and make that water park out of.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 or 5 species that you're only going to find there. So for guys like us that want to see it to, complete the Florida list or whatever you want to call it, we're going to have to put together some kind of liaison program where we can all go together or set it up a once a year thing or something so we can get escorted and do it that way, because they're never going to let onesie twosie people go in that area. It's just not going to happen.
Is it like privately owned land or owned by like a corporation or something?
So some of it is Florida Water Management, some of it is U.S. Coast Guard, and then the rest of it is owned by Zoo Miami.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's difficult to access any of it legitimately. Now, could you trespass and break the law? Probably, yeah. But it's not worth it. You know what I mean? I would much rather go through the proper chain of command and put together some kind of excursion, if you will, and whether it be guided or it be supervised, babysat, however you want to call it, and get a little group together to try and do it.
Yeah. Oh, Mike said just become champion pickleballers.
Too soon,
so
Mike.
glad
Too soon. It didn't get shut down. It just got put on hiatus. So we got a few months before that rears its ugly head again.
Never just dies, Eli. You should know that.
Yeah,
That's
right.
The killer always comes back.
Yep.
That's so insane how little they cared about like actually preserving the nature in those areas.
It's about money, man. It's all about money.
And I feel like people that golf don't realize that golf courses aren't nature. Like, even though it's grass, that's not an ecosystem anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it looks, to an untrained eye, I guess, like nature, but you're not getting the same species there anymore. And you're just destroying the land around it with fertilizers and pesticides and all that.
Yeah. Yep. All that runoff, all that pollution, just there. And obviously I'm upset about the whole pickleball thing, and it bothers me on a multitude of levels, but it bothers me. It's sharp because 2 months ago I was called by local law enforcement who I'm friendly with to come get a snake off of a pickleball court, and it turns to be an Everglades rat snake, but the pickleball court last year was Everglades. So it's that fresh. And when I went there to get it, there was hundreds of kids, I would say majority under the age of 18, whether it was some kind of after school program or some kind of summer camp thing, I don't know, but hundreds of kids, and they're all screaming, look at this snake, because they had it under a Rubbermaid trash can.
Yeah.
And dude, I don't think I've ever grabbed and bagged a snake that fast in my life because I felt bad for the snake, man. I did. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, Everglades rat snake. I was like, all right, cool. I grabbed him in my hand. I held him against my body so he wasn't flailing around. And I pulled a pillowcase out of my back pocket and stuffed him in there real quick. And everyone's like, oh, can we see it? Can we see it? I was like, no, he's stressed out, you know. And I left, and that was it. But luckily, the park ranger was cool and knew that snake needed help, and local law enforcement, my buddy, was cool and knew that snake needed help. And it sucks that he's in captivity now, but it's better than if he got accosted by hundreds of teenagers and or killed by a park ranger or something, or a concerned parent or something, you know. But it just goes to show you that, like, literally a year ago, that was Everglades.
Yeah, it's insane that people freak out about seeing native Everglades species in places that were so recently Everglades.
Yeah, man.
Like, people talk about being so upset that they're finding snakes in their houses and stuff, and they don't realize that, you know, a few years ago that was the snake's house that you just built on top of. Like, they don't realize that it's not their place anymore.
Yeah, and this particular pickleball court, I'm not gonna say where or what city or anything, just because I don't want to get people in trouble, because you know how this goes. But it was in a county park, and those pickleball courts, there's like 10 of them now. Those were like wooded walking trails, right? So they basically took a wild area. They bulldozed some walking trails and some, you know, bike trails, whatever, to make it scenic. And then when they realized, well, hell, pickleball is way more popular than hiking through these trails, let's just bulldoze it and make pickleball courts. And that's what they did. So
that it makes no sense. Like, I play pickleball. I enjoy pickleball, not gonna lie. But I don't understand why you need to put it in a national park or a state park. Like, we have courts here in Gainesville that are, you know, in the city, and we're not taking up. I mean, obviously, could be wetlands and stuff, but I don't know. I just don't see the point in taking away more spaces for people to go walk through the woods and, you know, get more kids interested just to put in pickleball courts. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's a combination of a couple things, specifically in that respect. It's a combination of a couple things. One, they would put it in a vacant building or vacant lot in town if it wasn't commercially owned and they had to pay exuberant amounts of money for it. So it's cheaper for them to bulldoze a natural area than it would be for them to buy a lot or buy a abandoned department store or something, because that's prime real estate. At the same time, there's very much a vibe down here that's, if you have money, if you have government money, or not even government, even if HOAs and stuff, if there's money allocated for something specific and you don't spend it in a certain amount of time, you lose it, which never made sense to me. Like, where does it go? Where does it just magically vanish? So, like, for example, the neighborhood my parents live in has a bougie HOA, and they were pulling about $100,000 a month for this X amount of time, and it was to do cosmetic maintenance of the area. What did they wind up doing? They wound up taking a 4-lane road, so 2 lanes this way, 2 lanes east, 2 lanes west, bulldozing it, making it 1 lane in either direction, and then adding mounds of dirt with grass as a median to make it look like little hills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why?
I bet it
So
looks
now,
dope, though.
so now you just messed up whatever was living there. There's less room for traffic, which means traffic is more congested, right?
Yeah.
You're having people avoid that area now because of the congestion, and you spent millions of dollars for nothing. Millions of dollars that could have been put to something infinitely greater than little, 5-foot hills going down the median.
Dollar General.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, yeah. So I feel like the state wants to do these pickleball courts, if you will, but they don't want to pay for commercial real estate, and they already have this land. So, like, screw it, we'll just bulldoze it and use it. The problem is when they say in the law, already developed, not used land or whatever. Well, that just means that there was a parking lot, so they're going to bulldoze the parking lot and make it a pickleball court. I'm cool with that. The problem is they reach 15, 20 acres past that abandoned parking lot.
Yeah.
And now there's corporations coming in to build a hotel, to build a resort, to build a spa, to bring in a train line for a train station and whatever other crazy shit they're going to put in.
Yeah, it's just crazy that natural places are so low on the priority list, and they try to make it seem like they care about them so much.
The almighty dollar.
Yeah, it's insane, especially when you can see what it's causing, like with how bad the Everglades are getting, and just how everything natural in Florida seems to be deteriorating, and it just seems like it's getting worse and worse, and there's no real effort to stop it.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not gonna stop, because the problem is like, it's not a problem now, and it won't be a problem when a lot of these developers and stuff are still here. But like, after they're gone, they're like, it's not their problem anymore. They're not gonna have to live with it. They're not gonna have to deal with it. So why wouldn't they just enjoy that time now? That's the mentality, because I mean, that's the mentality around here. It's like, why do I care? It's not gonna matter when I'm gone. Like the retirees that have 20, 30 years tops left, they're like, why do I care?
Yeah, they're just gonna make their money and then leave. Especially if you don't, if you just care more about developing, you're not, an outdoors person. You don't care if that's gone.
Like when my boss was the mayor and they had these hearings and stuff for like developments and stuff around town, that was literally what he would get told, is like, it's not going to matter to me in 15 years.
Yeah. I didn't realize how bad the runoff was into the Everglades. And just South Florida in general, until we were looking at, it's going to sound bad, recipes for Burmese python. But they were like, do not eat anything from the Everglades. And they were like, if you get it from, because, I knew there had to be recipes from, people that have eaten snake. I know they sell like retic and stuff over in Southeast Asia. But they were like, if you get it from somewhere that's breeding them for meat, you can eat it. But the mercury levels and like heavy metals in anything south of the big like sugarcane farms are like seriously detrimental to ingest like anything from there.
Yeah,
I believe
which
it.
is insane.
Back no, we're gonna say, Eli.
No, I was just gonna say that's such a big part of Florida, and it can't be good for the, the fish and stuff that you can catch there and eat. Like it has to transfer to those too.
Oh, for sure. And I was gonna say, back in, man, I don't know if it was 2010, maybe, I think it might have been 2010. A couple of buddies and I, we went on a gator hunt, and our tags were not where we wanted. And it was basically off of Alligator Alley, so right in the thick of that mercury zone.
Yeah.
And we were warned about it, and we got a very large bull gator, and it was a pristine animal. It was awesome. And I'm sure people are listening to this going, how could you do that? And blah, blah. There's a whole debate and conversation about it. Yeah. But we were actually really pleased to get that animal for a multitude of reasons. But when the state biologist examined our animal, they discovered almost no mercury, almost no heavy metals in that animal. And from where it was, they were shocked. And it was one of the first gators that they had pulled out of that area that showed these good levels, these lack of levels, if you will. And subsequently after that, we had followed up with some of the biologists, and they continued to see some alligators not having these harsh chemicals in them. And they started to focus their research on that area, which I thought was really great. But I feel like it also comes in peaks and valleys, because every few years they purge all the crap out of Lake Okeechobee, send it south through the canal systems, the Miami Canal, the Miami River, all that. And now they're dumping it offshore north of West Palm Beach and the whole Stewart, Cocoa Beach, all that area between like Vero Beach and Cocoa and south of that, excuse me. And now you're seeing, instead of seeing messed up animals in the Everglades, you're seeing messed up animals offshore. There's been more sawfish sightings in 2024 than there has been the past 10 years. And they're all at the surface of the water. And biologists are trying to figure out what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out why these sawfish are at the surface and why are they sawing out of the water. That's not a normal act for them. That's a sign of stress. That's a sign of illness. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And now they're wondering if that runoff, aside from red tide blooms and mercury in the water and whatever else, what's causing the sawfish to surface and act this way.
Yeah, so it's insane how bad it's getting. I don't know if you saw, like, down in the Everglades, there was a bunch of people that were posting videos. I forget what the disease is called, but it's where, like, fish just go up to the surface and just do circles and then eventually die.
Yeah.
And I guess it was one of the highest years they've had for it so far, where there was just hundreds of fish. You know, obviously not red tide, but this separate thing. It I don't think it's a coincidence that it's kicking up even more now.
Yeah. We've had more American crocodile sightings north of Miami in the past couple of years than ever before. And everyone's saying, oh, it's because the ecosystem is better and now they're finally making their way north. Well, it's like, no, the areas that they're inhabiting are fucked up. So they're heading north
to try to get better areas.
Yeah, there was just there was a second croc sighting off Dania Beach in the past. There was one a couple days ago and one maybe 3 weeks prior to that. I don't know if it's the same croc, but now it's in straight saltwater in the Atlantic off the coast of Dania Beach, which would never normally be a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now you're seeing two of them. That just doesn't make sense. So
yeah, they're not doing so well that they're expanding their territory. They're being pushed out of their territory.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, but we keep having conversations like this and keep, putting our voices heard, and we keep fighting the good fight, and I feel like this whole pickleball incident was a really good show of people's feelings and people's opinions so that we can continue to progress and not go down the slippery slope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope that at least it brought more light to it.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that got a lot more traction than a lot of the small stuff that they do.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll turn people's attention more towards, like, hey, this isn't the only thing they're doing. Like, they're already doing terrible stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like it wasn't just a South Florida thing. It wasn't just a panhandle thing. It was a state thing. It was everywhere. It was like 22 state parks or something.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not just these guys in this county getting upset because they're putting in a pickleball court. No, it's the whole state's upset.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see that it wasn't just, herpers and birders and stuff caring. It seemed like it was a much bigger group.
Yeah.
That actually cared about it.
Agreed. Well, boys, we're past the 2-hour mark. Is there anything else you guys want to cover tonight?
No.
Not really. I'm looking forward to Arachnerds.
Yeah.
I started that.
Scott says we need to do a book club episode soon, and I agree.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're way overdue.
And I feel like I actually have enough books currently to be able to
play.
Yeah. What's that, Eli?
Where do you go? I'd like to let Kasicki know that I can play tennis. That's not why I play pickleball.
Ah, okay. Duly noted.
That you have to be bad at tennis to play pickleball. I'd like to cover that.
Oh, Kasicki.
That might be the whitest thing you do, Eli. I think he's breaking up again.
Yeah, we're losing.
Are you there?
Yeah, he broke up. I heard whitest cut out.
Is that might be the whitest thing you do?
That's fair. Still fun.
Oh, well, this episode, as always, is brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Check them out. Give them a follow on Facebook, on Instagram. Use code THN24. Get 10% off your order. Choose the pickup option to check out. Hop on over to North Georgia. Pick up your order. Save on shipping. And see the operation. Meet the crew. And then get yourself some nice caging. Racks, cages. They got it. Jake and I think, are planning to get up there at the beginning of October to get our stuff. And I'm very excited. Got one of the new rack systems they released not that long ago. I'm anxious to give that a whirl. And I think Jake got some. He got one of those, and he got some other stuff too. So should be good. FullViewsApparel.com. Use code THN at checkout as well. Get 15% off your order. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. And then cold-blooded caffeine. Get yourself some coffee. Get yourself some stuff to make the coffee, whether it's the Snakes and Stogies blend or many, many of the other offerings. You won't be disappointed. It's all good. Caffeinate, hydrate, rejuvenate, recaffeinate, in that order. Flippin' 10 is happening Thursday. I think that's kicking off at 8 is when they usually do that live. And then right now the plan is for Arachnerds episode 2 to happen on Thursday. That will not be live, but it will be released either Thursday night, depending on what time we get done, or the following day. I haven't been uploading same night for a while now because I'm getting old and I get tired easily. So usually bedtime. So before, I would stay up until 1 a.m. and get everything uploaded and ready to go. And then as time went on, I was just like, you know what? Everyone else is going to be asleep. The 6 hours ain't going to be that big of a difference. It ain't that serious. So now I just do it the next day while I'm at work. So.
Yeah.
Well, we again, where I can sit down and focus on the podcast. But it was great to be on. Thank you.
Pleasure's all ours.
As always.
Have a good night.
Later,
Thanks,
buddy.
buddy.
Everyone else have a good night. Good night, Moon.
With a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush.
If there's anything anyone wants to hear in particular as far as Arachnerds goes, in terms of, like, we have a pretty extensive list already of what we are planning to get into at some point or another, be it overall invert stuff, general tarantula stuff, general scorpion stuff. And then I think we're even talking about doing some like genre breakdown episodes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You got to do some, this episode, we focus on X, Y, and Z, where they come from, what they look like, blah, blah, blah.
That's what the plan is currently. And then I know Nisarg has a ton of people that he could get guest-wise. So it'll be good. There's going to be so much stuff to cover in so little time. But
Excellent.
If there's any suggestions, because I know that was something that we had I had gotten a general pull from our circle as far as what people thought and suggestions and things. And I know the nomenclature thing was kind of the biggest thing to crop up. And that's definitely something I think we're going to try and work on as far as like including common names when we can.
Yeah.
That's just such a hard habit for me to get into. I think I'm going to really struggle with remembering to do that. So,
yeah,
you know, we'll do our best, but what else? There was something else. Yeah, I can't think of it, but fully open to any recommendations, anything you want to see in particular, anything you want us to do differently, maybe that might make it easier. Because it is, like, as I mentioned in the first episode, like, we are trying to sort of make it a bridge for the herp people to get into the invert thing, and not necessarily the other way around, but to sort of help become a guide.
Yeah.
But
well put, man.
it's going to be hard to do that if you're just using nomenclature. People can't Google Formictopus while they're driving.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can break it down and even if it comes down to you spelling it on occasion, you know what I mean? Tonight we're talking about I don't even know, Grammastola, right? And you spell Grammastola, and you say these are New World, South American, blah blah blah, and go in that way, you know? Yeah. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be great. It's good.
I think so too.
It's good.
Other than that, Flippin' 10 Thursday.
Yes, sir.
See y'all then and there.
Bye.